Wow, peace and blessings, and welcome to another edition of King Talk Tuesdays. I'm your host, Andy King, the show with real views, real news, and real talk. We cover so many topics on King Talk Tuesdays, including education, health, economics, spirituality, and so much more. I look forward to you all joining me for more inspiring and dynamic conversations throughout the week and each and every week. King Talk Tuesdays is streaming live on Facebook as well as our YouTube channel every Tuesday at 8 p.m. King Talk Tuesday also airs every Thursday evening, 10:30 on Optimal Channel 70, as well as Files Channel 2136. We're also streaming on a number of streaming services such as Roku TV, Amazon Prime, Millennium TV 24, and Clash TV. I encourage all our subscribers, everyone, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our previous episodes. You can also check your local listings to catch any episodes of King Talk Tuesdays airing throughout the week. I want to thank everyone who's been tuning in today, and has tuned in with us for the last couple of years. Because you know what I say, right? I got to tell you, you got to remember that people pay attention to people who participate. So tell a friend, tell a neighbor. King Talk Tuesdays is airing right now. They can drop us a comment or question on our Facebook, our YouTube channel, or just email us at kingtalktuesdays@gmail.com. Again, our email address is kingtalktuesdays@gmail.com. Well, yes, if you do need help, ask them, good neighbors. I want to thank Pastor Pitt, Pastor Glad, and Lady D, and all and everyone that does at the New Testament Temple at Good Neighbors to help our neighbor unite, stay strong, and provide quality services that are needed for our community. And if you have any physical ailments or injuries, remember, Thermodynamics is number one in getting your body back to life. Please call them today. If you have a bad hip, elbow, shoulder, whatever it is, just give them a call so you can get right back to life. There's a lot of things that are happening in the world. Applications for the New York City Summer Rising program will be opening April 17th until May 1st. Summer Rising is a free and available to all New York City students in grades K to 8, pending seat availability, of course. Students Summer Rising will have access to both academic and enrichment programs over the course of the day, including field trips, arts activities, and outdoor recreation. Programs will be full day, remember, full day in person and planned and operated collaboratively by schools, principals, and community based organizations. For more information and to apply, visit nyc.gov /summarizing. Again, that's nyc.gov /summarizing. Number three, we want to let you know that Governor Kathy Hochul announced that New York will be receiving $100 million through an American Rescue Plan to deliver affordable, high-speed internet to thousands of New Yorkers. And last but not least, we want to talk about today is a very special day in the United States of America. It's a very special day for Blacks. It's a very, very special day for civil rights, and it's a very special day for the King family. Today we celebrate, and I don't want to say so much celebrate, but acknowledge the 55th day, 55th year of the assassination of the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And with all the work that he's done for civil rights to improve the lives of conditions of everyone in this country called America, his life was ended short by the ugly bullet of hatred and oppression and bigotry. There's no other way to say it when someone spends their time and energy to help someone other than themselves, sacrifice their time, their energy, their life force just to improve the human condition, to only to be responded by with the ugly of hatred, which America has perpetuated on its people, especially the Black people. So to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, we love you and may you rest in peace. And that leads us to today's conversation as we talk about civil rights and the good Dr. Martin Luther King. I want to invite to our show to have this conversation today our good sister who's been here before, but an educator, smart, bright, intelligent, religious, and spiritual. I want to welcome back to King Talk Tuesdays, my good sister, Cynthia Turquoise Jones. Show up, and show out for us, Sister Cynthia.
So I just have like some noise in the background.
Okay,
so you have to give me like 3 seconds so I can get to another room because there's some horrible noise in the background.
Well, you're
But
not supposed to start live TV, just got Enterprise.
I'm really ready. I am ready.
I love it.
We are talking about Dr. King. We are talking about Dr. King. I'll be right back.
Not a problem. And next up, we want to bring onto the screen a good man, a great man, a beautiful brother, a spiritual brother, a one who's been tried. You know, like you said, Christ was his feet was like brass burnt in the furnace. That's somebody who's been tried and tested and still standing and persevering and doing what the Lord wants him to do. I want to welcome a man who's been a great leader and still is a good leader in doing all he has to do to improve the human conditions. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first time the King Talk Tuesday. My brother, the great man, Norman Seabrook.
My brother. My brother. How are you, doctor?
Oh, it's a delight to see you and have you joining us on tonight's show as we talk about the good Dr. King himself, as well as civil rights and so many things that have an impact on our life in each and every day. And I'm not just talking about the impact of Black America, but I'm talking about the impact of Black America. And we're going to have a real conversation what that looks like for all of us who goes to and fro throughout our day and how we move forward in a world called America and beyond. So let's jump into it because the questions have come in. It's coming in already. And then someone said, hey, listen, Mr. King, you're talking about civil rights. Well, what qualifies your guest to talk about civil rights and what are civil rights? So, Brother Norman, talk to us quickly. You know, what is civil rights for you?
I think what qualifies anyone to talk about civil rights is when it affects them, when something's going wrong, they have the right to speak up. A person that says nothing, does nothing, can expect nothing. If you stand for what you believe in, then you're fighting for civil rights, your civil rights. And if you don't pick up the shade and say something, then you're just going along to get along. That's just it in a nutshell. You have to be a participant in order to be able to speak out.
I like that. Sister Jones, talk to us. Turn your mic on and talk to us. Same question. What qualifies and what does civil rights actually mean to you?
Well, I don't know if a person would say I'm qualified. I read. That's one of my
Mm,
qualifications. And reading is the way to make it to the top. So keep on reading and do not stop. Um, I am also a librarian. I just became a librarian in August 2022. I graduated from
congratulations.
LIU, and I was the only Black in my cohort. That's number one.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. In 2022, I was the only Black person in my cohort studying to become a librarian. I comb through books every single day. And so the purpose of me combing through books is to make sure that the books that our students in our schools are receiving what they need in order to be a part of the race. So, and to know their rights and to know what civil means and then put it all together. So
Mm,
I I feel as though that I'm qualified. I may not be as knowledgeable as someone else, but I can sure enough sit at the table.
mm. Well, that's
Amen
what's
to
all
that.
about. Sitting at the table, sitting at the table. And when we start talking about civil, everyone should be qualified to talk about civil. And if you don't know what civil is, let's talk about what's happening in the world today. You know, when we start talking about our young people, we talk about how to be taught to be civil. Now, you're a librarian. That means you get individuals coming to learn and read books all the time. Um, Brother Seabrook, you know, you've been out there in the world helping people being civil. So talk to us about what is the behavior of civil before we even get into you having the right if you're not behaving civil.
Well, I think that, when you take the opportunity and take the time to have interactions with a young person or an older person, that doesn't matter, and give them your perspective and allow them to give you their perspective, you come to a medium in the middle. And you have to do it civilly. You can't do it with violence. You can't do it with a gun. You can't do it with a knife. You can't do it screaming and yelling. You have to actually sit down, because when you sit down and you have that conversation, you will find that you have more in common with each other than you don't. And I think that it's important that we as men get the opportunity, and women, but especially the men, to go out there and be big brothers, men, to these younger men that are growing up, because it seems to have a gap somewhere in there where they're not getting the attention, they're not getting the love, they're not getting the participation, they're not getting the camaraderie, they're not getting that brother love that so many of us, and at my age and yours as well, Andy, have received. And don't get me wrong, my mother gave it to me. So touche to the women that stepped up to the plate to give us the opportunity to become men. They couldn't teach us everything, but they gave us the opportunity to be civil when we did it.
Mm. And I think you hit the nail on the head, my brother, because civil is one of the things that mess up our young brothers today. Sister Turnquest, as you are doing your work as an educator and you engaging with individuals, do you come across of even having as like when people walk in asking for kind of books to talk about what the civil rights movement was all about? What does that mean for us today?
Well, I am located in a school, so I am a school librarian, and I have some children asking about the civil rights movement. Those who don't ask about the civil rights movement, I take time out to talk to them about the civil rights movement. So in just with brother Norman just now, I just want to add on to what he said because I really liked what he said. And in the aspect of being able to read, that would also lend to you being civil, because then you understand how you should go about attacking a problem with a solution and how to go about doing that in a civil manner. Now, every now and again, you may get unraveled, and that is understandable. But as long as you have your wherewithal and your understanding about what you are battling, then the civil part becomes a little bit easier. It's not it isn't easy, but it becomes a little bit easier. The students in our school, I'm located in Harlem, in the Polo Grounds. The library that we have in our school is called a Robin Hood Library. That means that our school is allotted a different amount of money than an average school receives for their library. So our biography section in particular is being revamped right now. I am in the process of revamping it. And in the revamping is making sure that there is information in the library that will meet the needs of the students who are attending the school in order for them to continue on with being civil for their rights.
And education is the key. I like
Yes.
what you said, being able to read so you can obtain the knowledge. Even though if you don't have that person in your life that offering that wisdom, where would you go next? And you no, sorry, can't run to the internet, can't run to I ain't calling out no television station that shows some of the crazy propaganda that has human beings acting like buffoons. But in the day, how do we grab truth in the conversation? We're I know our time. We got to manage our time with the both of you. But before we transition, because I know today is the 55th day anniversary of the assassination of our good Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King. Um, Mr. Seabrook, I
Sir.
know as a labor leader, Dr. King was killed on the watch of helping labor sanitation workers out in Memphis. Talk to us a little bit about, as you reflect on that moment in time, what it means for you as quote unquote still a labor leader.
You know, it's it's bittersweet because although he died defending the rights of sanitation workers, because they used to be called garbage men, and when he went to Memphis to fight for their rights, he put his life on the line. He didn't know he was putting his life on the line that day, but he knew that he had something that God put inside of him to fight for the rights of everyone. Just as I've always fought for the rights of everyone, no matter what the cost. Sometimes you have to do it. And what Dr. King did was he galvanized people. He gave people the opportunity to not only be heard through his voice, but to be accepted in areas in which they were not ordinarily accepted. And what I might mean by the sweet part of it is that we get the opportunity to live the dream now. We get the opportunity to receive the benefits that he worked for, not completely and not all the way, because there's still insufficient funds, like he has said, insufficient funds with the government and what they're doing. But it's sweet because he lived, and he still lives inside of me, and he still lives inside so many more seniors and so many more people who went through that same era with him and had to march out there with him. I remember working with a man named Cleveland Robinson for District 65, which was the AFL-CIO union headquarters down on Astor Place, and in the mid 1980s, and Cleve marched with Dr. King, and I had the opportunity to meet Cleve and speak to him about the civil rights movement. I had the opportunity to meet uh, the widow of Dr. King, Miss Coretta Scott King, on just by mistake. I walked up, she was standing there, and we had a wonderful conversation. So, what the bittersweet part of it is that we get the opportunity to remember the dream, but we have to live the dream. So many of us talk about it, but do nothing about it. So many of us wish that we had the opportunity to have a person like Dr. King in our lives right now to be able to lead us, because we're all over the place and we can't seem to get things under control. But he brought something to the table that no one yet has ever brought to the table. He brought civility.
Mm, I like that. Civility and stability and some tranquility. So
Amen.
I thank
Amen.
you for that. You know, Sister Turquoise, Turquoise, I know I keep calling you Turquoise. I like my favorite color. Uh, that day that we're talking about, of course, I didn't march with the Dr. King, but I was there. I mean, I literally was here on the planet when it happened. And both of us, all three of us, have been on the planet when it happened. I can recollect the moment of being. I'm five, babysitting my cousin's babysitting, and all of us she's watching TV, and she screams and runs to the phone and makes this call. And I'm 5 years, I have no clue what's going on. And then, people coming out in the streets, something's off. Can you tell us a little about and reflect on how Dr. King has impacted you in the work that you do with all the young souls that you come in contact with each and every day at the school?
Okay, so I was in my mother's womb when Dr. King was assassinated. So one of the things that I do, and I do it every year, and I am not sure as to when I started doing this, but my dad is the person that is responsible for teaching me a lot of history. And he was working at Ford Motor Company when King was assassinated. And so I would always call him, or if I am with him, and I would ask him, so what happened when King was assassinated? And he was like, oh man, that was a day. Or what happened when X was assassinated? What happened when Rosa Parks got arrested? And he would tell me, he would travel back in his memory and he would tell me. Now my dad is from Long Island, Bahamas. And so when he came to the United States of America, he came to Florida. And during that time, they were lynching. And so he shared that information with me. Now, I was attending all white schools here in Westchester County. So when I would get home, he would have a lesson. And so he still has a lesson. He's 88 years old. And
Mm.
that traveled with me the entire time. So I would look at things different from other children. I would seek to find Black history. Fast forward, I am now in the library. And like I said again, you have to be intentional. You need individuals to be intentional when it comes to the education of our children. Because if you ask anyone who is a child who is in high school, if you ask them to show you a textbook and go through a United States history textbook, it is poorly displayed for our children. Therefore, I turn to a lot of children's books. Children's books are the key to me. Um, I have a children's book that I want to share with you on screen.
Please do. Please do. Okay. Oh, wow, that's powerful. We need to get this into some of our schools here in the Bronx as well. Okay. All
So
right.
this comes from a collection,
Civics for all. Okay.
and it came out during the height of COVID. and you had to fill out some documentations, and then they just sent you boxes and boxes and boxes of books. And with this book right here talks about a little girl by the name of Lorraine, and Lorraine's dad uh, was working with the sanitation department, and they were protesting, and she was a part of the boycott. And so it goes back into a poem, and well written, really love it. And it takes a child who, or a young reader, a young learner, back to 1968. And then and then what starts happening is you start getting a lot of questioning from children. You know, you might get the Latinx children will ask, well, where were we at? Right? What was happening during that time with us? And
Right.
then you start explaining what happened during that time. And then you could also, this is the last one that I'm going to share, but you could also go into the marches with the children. Remember the marches with the children when they were being attacked by dogs and attacked by hoses,
Mm.
the water hose, that that went into the Civil Rights Act being signed. And
Right.
so they have that. They have that.
Let the children march. That is powerful and nice. And so many y'all, some of our, I thank you for that because so many of our young children don't understand that Dr. King was 26. It wasn't like when Dr. King started, he was a 54-year-old man, went through a whole lot of stuff, had grown children. His children were babies at the time, wasn't even born at the time. And so many young people were out there. And as you know, because of the attacks on the children, it forced quote unquote the white man to realize and the white woman to say to the white, what are you guys doing? There are babies out there that you're going after right now.
Yeah.
We don't mind being at the head of the table all the time, but you're going after children. So that was a change. I want to quickly before we go to a halftime break, and I lose you, Sister Cynthia. There is the conversation about Dr. King being a reverend, which we know he was a great orator and had a whole lot of wisdom that he would drop. Just want to know, how do you take his spirituality, or is spirituality tied in to the civil rights movement?
How do I mean, spirituality is needed if you're gonna be a rebel. There ain't
Mm,
nothing wrong with being a rebel. Period. They might put that in the bad box, but I'd rather be in the bad box of being a rebel and being spiritual, a spiritual rebel, because I am fighting for what is right, and that's a period on that. There's
okay.
nothing wrong with being, because if you spirituality, they have specific songs in church. One is called an onward Christian soldier marching out to war with the um
Okay.
just period.
Period.
There's nothing wrong with being a rebel.
Okay.
I,
Well,
I'm a rebel.
well, well, I feel you. I'm a rebel too, brother Seabrook. I know you had to pick up the stick a few times.
But I mean, there's ways. I don't know if there's actually ways in being a rebel, but I think being a rebel is I'd rather be a rebel than sit around quiet. Silence is an answer also, right?
Well, as
And you,
Dr.
you
King
have to
said,
have have some kind of. I have to look up that word rebel. You
well,
got me.
it's fine because I do recall Dr. King saying silence to the conversation is a betrayal to the conversation. So
Absolutely.
many people sit on the sidelines and knowing this,
Absolutely.
what's happening is false, knowing is not accurate, and will not say anything. And I'm talking about blacks doing it to blacks. I can't really concern with whites doing it to whites because they still had the power structure as we look at it today. I ain't mad at nobody, but I'm mad at how we get treated differently on any given day, walking down the street, sitting in an office, or just strategies that are put together. So again, if you know something, don't tell me if you know something, say something, but you stop people from saying something if they know something, if they don't say what you want them to say.
I mean, they call you a rebel if you're speaking, and you're speaking in a certain way. They call Angela Davis a rebel,
mm, mm,
right? They
yeah,
You look at the people who they called rebels.
right.
The individuals who they called rebels were speaking up for what was wrong so that it could be right. So if that is what the definition of rebel is, then put my face underneath that.
All
I'll
right.
take time.
Well, that's the blessing. Before we go to break, brother Sheba, talk to us a little bit about civil rights. And I know you got your spirituality flow that comes inside you, and you drop it every time you pick up a phone. Every time the words come out of your mouth, you know there's something that in it greater than this world that speaks to you. Talk to us about that.
Well, I think that in reading the Bible and trying to get as much knowledge as I can from it, um, the Bible says that you could be a teacher, a preacher, a minister, you could be a prophet, you could be whatever it is that God has intentions for you to do. And I'm doing God's will. I'm doing what it is that He's asked and directed me to do. It's not whether or not I want to do it. I'm instructed to do it. I have to do it. And doing that, you have to continue to fight. You have to continue to ask for wisdom from Him so that He gives you the direction and the understanding and the protection of what it is that you have to go through in this life in the flesh that we're in. Because where we're at right now, this is only a dress rehearsal. And I know that next week or down the road, you're coming up with a different group of people that are going to talk spirituality. But I believe in, and I don't knock nobody for their own beliefs, but I believe in the one and only God, my Lord and Savior, the God above all gods. And, He's taken me through the valley of the shadow of death. I've been there, seen it. And I think that it's important that you get the opportunity to refresh yourself. It's like restarting your computer. You're going to have to restart yourself. You're going to have to stop playing the hokey pokey, put your left foot in, take your left foot out. You're either all in or you're not all in. And I think that when you look at the perspective of the way that we are facing with gangs, gun violence, all the things that we're facing in our systems, shootings in schools and everything else, I think it's time for us to do something a little bit different. I think it's time to really adopt the lessons that Dr. King spoke about, because it's all coming to pass. In my opinion, and it's just my opinion, the Bible to me is a GPS. It's the God positioning system. It's not something that is happening that's never been written before. He's the author. Over 2,000 years ago, this book was written, and everything that seems to happen is in the book. There's nothing new under the sun. And look, I have a saying right now, just like Joseph went into the pit, but he didn't have a pity party when he was in the pit. Joseph went from the prison to the palace. So at the end of the day, if God has a destination for me, I'm going to follow His lead, because you can't skip the process. Everything you do in life, you cannot skip the process. If you attempt to skip the process, you are destined to repeat it over again until you get it right. And if you keep repeating it over again, that's the sure enough definition of a person that's insane, because you're looking for a different result and you're never going to get it.
That's right. Well, I want to thank you both for that. That was just powerful. Thank you, Brother Norman. Listen, we are at halftime of the show. Sister Cynthia, I know you have to do some things, and we're going to give the camera and the mic to Brother Norman. He's going to just do what he do and do it well. But we want to thank you for your time this evening. We're looking forward to you coming back again, Sister Cynthia, and you
Thank
have a
you.
great rest of the
God
evening.
bless you, sister.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
But right now, it is halftime of King Talk Tuesday, the show with real
Thank
views, real news, and a real talk. And you know what we always do as a former basketball player, I got to get my stretch on. Make sure I don't pull a muscle. Make sure the poetry's still going on. And we do what we do and here on King Talk Tuesdays. So here with the 50th year of hip hop, so much is happening going on throughout the city. Enjoy a 50th celebration somewhere. I tell you, June 3rd, Shar Rock Day happening in Gun Hill Park. Be a part of that. Powered by yours truly, King Talk. But all more importantly, we want to let you know the Hip Hop Museum will be opening up its doors coming up in the following year. So look forward to what that day is going to really truly look like. Again, you're all tuning in to King Talk Tuesdays, the show with real views, real news, and real talk. We air every Tuesday live on Facebook and YouTube at 8 p.m. We also air on Files Channel 2136 and Optimal Channel 70 every Thursday at 10:30. You can also check your local listeners to catch more episodes throughout the week. We're on Roku Prime, we're on Roku TV, Prime Television, Prime Video. We're on Millennium TV 24. We're just all over doing what we got to do to get the information out, because when it comes to information, you got to be real. And when you're real, people want to hear the real talk. So this is what you get here on King Talk Tuesday. But we do have our chat lines open for anybody who wants to leave a message on our YouTube or Facebook, or email us at kingtalktuesday@gmail.com. The last couple of years have been really hard for the globe. And this is the moment in time that I just, offer up positive energy in prayer and love to everyone who is going through something, for those who are not going through anything, for those who are living, surviving, walking in a place, in a space that they hope to get to see the light. Whatever that light looks like for you, for me, it's the Most High in Christ. And I worship the words of the scriptures in the Bible that help me get through my days, my light moments, my dark moments, and those moments that God I know is walking and carrying me. But I say to you, if you can, send up some prayers and love, not only for your family, but to your community, to your neighbors, your friends, your enemies, your frenemies, whoever you need needs a little bit of guidance, some love, spiritual, to help them get through the next day to be a better neighbor, friend, brother, or family member. So with that being said, we just want to give a shout out. I can't talk to the couple people who are tuning in. I'm looking at Daryl Lockhart up here is saying, he's telling them, welcome home, Norman. Okay. All right. Daryl Lockhart is all right. That's what we're talking
Thank
about.
you. Thank
You
you.
got it. You got if I met your sister named Shadida Emerson, says, good evening. Great to see you. Mr. Seabrook Red is watching. And then we have up here Bethany Palmer. I know she's saying people pay attention to people who participate. That's right, because that's how the world works. And we have, you got quotes here saying that it's always from who's this? Velma Jackson. Welcome, Mr. Seabrook. It's always a pleasure to see you. But I
Thank you.
even see so many just saying that, like Amelia Duncan, Norman, you was an amazing leader, but as Yaman Maxi says, thank you for the prayers, and you are still a good leader, and you always will be a great leader.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we want to thank all of our viewers for tuning in, and if you have a question for Brother Seabrook, please just put it in, send it to us, and we'll ask him that question as we move forward. So as we get into the second half, we're talking about Dr. King. Today was a day 55 years ago that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated, and his legacy is still here today. And his legacy still remains in the essence of what I started to show off. We're just not talking about being black in America, but being black in America. So I want to talk to you, Brother Norman, to talk to us a little about, whatever you want to share with our listeners and our viewers about, you were a president of a union. You did so much work. And I know I had the privilege in joining, get the opportunity to meet and do some work with you as well. How things going with you right now? How's life? How you moving and grooving? Talk to the people who are glad to see your smiling face and that beard of distinction you got going on there.
Listen, I thank all of the individuals for their kind words. I really do. It's a blessing to be able to be home with my family and give an honor to God, because without him, I certainly wouldn't be here right now. So it's God, family, and doing what I'm supposed to do for my grandchildren. And I've given a lot of my time and a lot of my years to doing a lot of things for people, thousands, tens of thousands of people and their families. And that wasn't me that did it. It was the blessing of God that allowed me to do it for them. And I'm happy that so many of them are enjoying the benefits that God allowed me to help with, to assist with, to voice, to use me, to use me to do it. I think that at the end of the day, some people have this saying that it is what it is, but that's not true. At the end of the day, you make it what it is. You have to be able to be articulate enough to be able to speak to someone in a civil tone and get things done. For example, I was taught by a friend of mine, Curtis, that there's 5 reasons why God allows problems: to inspect you, protect you, perfect you, correct you, and direct you. And once you understand that, sometimes you have to be humbled. You have to sit down and you have to allow him to lead. You have to get out of the way and allow him to lead. You can't bump heads with him. You never win. And I've been humbled by God. And I'm happy that I've been humbled, because I feel better. Inside of me feels better. I forgive all of them. Everybody. I have no enemies. I have none. That's not my job. That's God's job to deal with that. I'm happy doing what it is that I do. for my family. People said to me, well, the judge let you go. I'm grateful to Judge Hellerstein for doing what he's done and sending me home to my family. But I've seen both sides of the correction. I've seen the side of me being an officer. I've seen the side of me being a union leader for over 20 years, and I've seen the side of me being incarcerated. And there are so many things that need to be corrected. Watching young Black men, white men, Hispanic men, Mexican men be subjected to something that needs some type of change. And I don't think that that's always the answer of incarceration. I just don't think it is, having the experiences that I have. But I do think that if we work together in a civil way, like Dr. King has always suggested, and others, that we'll be able to come to an understanding to be able to help individuals bring themselves up by the bootstrap, if you will.
Mm, I like by the bootstrap. You listed those five things. I didn't get a chance to write them down, but somebody says, can he just repeat those five things again for us? You just told what God tries to text us, inspects us, directs us. Go ahead. Can you read them for us again?
God allows, and just so that you know, and I told you my friend Curtis, who we do Bible study with. Curtis Martin is a former NFL player, and he's in the Hall of Fame. And he, Jason Williams, a few of us, Charles Oakley, we're all on the prayer line every Wednesday. So the five things that Curtis says that he has been taught that God allows problems for is to direct you, inspect you, correct you, perfect you, and protect you. Those are the five reasons why God allows problems. But then you have to humble yourself. You have to allow him to speak to you. If you've got everything going on around you and you're not paying attention, you're going to miss it. And when you miss it, you can't get back to it. That's why you heard me say earlier, you can't skip the process. This is all part of the process. Everything that we go through is part of the process. We talk about some people, not everyone, some people talk about their biblical, thou shalt not commit murder. Okay, when you assassinate someone's character, are you not killing them?
That's true.
So how could you say that? We want to make things work just to our benefit. It's like some people say the 10 commandments. I say that there's 11. Because if you remember correctly, Jesus came and he said, I bring you a new commandment. So if you're bringing me a new commandment, that's outside of the 10, that makes 11. But that's just my opinion. But, that's not a debatable issue with me. If you want 10, you get 10. If I want 11, I get 11, because I'm still going to believe in him, whether it's 11, 12, 13, 14, any one of them he tells me, I'm still going to believe in him, because watching him, he was pure. I mean, we talk about it, but I'm going to be about it.
There you go. Talking about being about it. So many people say they be about it, but when it comes to actually delivering in the spiritual world, delivering on the words of that book, they find it trying, because following the words of Christ is, you have to have a contrite heart, and you got to make sacrifices. People aren't ready to make sacrifices when it comes to serving the Lord. It might be easy to read, but hard to embrace it and deliver if your spirit is not there. So I understand exactly where you're coming from. And when you talked about, it's one of the things that you talked about, thou shalt not kill. The civil rights was based because there were a lot of killing, people not being civil to one another. And I don't want to, those who are viewers who are watching this, get us wrong. There are a lot of people who have been civil to a set of people in America, even across the globe. And then when I have the conversation, and we're going to come back after this conversation that we have with the app every day, especially when it comes to this holy season, as we're get ready to go into the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and understanding what that story truly is all about. the freedoms that were given to the nation of Israel, the freedoms that the Most High in Christ gave them after being oppressed in the land of Egypt. There's oppression that happens today. If your spirituality is not right, you're going to give you can even lock yourself up. You know, if you don't have yourself together, you lock yourself up. You know, but we want to. I know that, you know, and we'll after the break. I know you and I have gone through some things that no one else can say. That, you know, if you haven't been tried and tested, you ain't got a testimony. All right, because you read some books don't mean anything. You got to be tried and
That's right.
tested,
That's right.
and
And faith,
persevere through it. Huh?
faith not tested is faith not trusted.
Mm, I think with that being said, I think now it's time. Like I said to you all, I've worked with Norman Seabrook when it comes to our young people. We did a great thing a couple of years back at Playland, and we are so grateful for that. But we're just going to take a break because we want to hear a message from these young people that Mr. Seabrook was part of bringing some joy in their life. We'll be right back on King Talk Tuesdays. Oh, yeah, building mind, body, and community. 18 years in the running. Myself, my loving wife, Neva Shellenford King, pulled this all together, never knowing that 18 years later that we still be dedicating our time, our energy, our spirit to just helping young teens from the ages from 11 to 18, and sometimes beyond and sometimes before. But if the Lord puts the spirit of service on you, that is your job. That is your gift. And our gift from the Most High is to help people, regardless if people understand what that help is supposed to look like or choose to envy that help. We still have to do what the Lord has directed us to do. And
I
with
guess
that,
that's I guess
yeah.
that's why you look so young doing it for 18 years.
Well, I appreciate that. But this
God bless you. God
it's
bless
a
you.
happy day, but it's also a sad day. Well, yesterday was a sad day. It was a sad moment for the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program. One of our young people at the age of 27 just passed away. He's a father, neighbor for me, the young man there in the white shirt that you can see. His name is Corey Gray. Came to us. He was a little kid, and we were helping as the youth was starting. We were 13 years of age, but his parents, who are his grandmother and grandfathers, were 1199ers, and you know, it was like, you got to take care, you got to help my grandson. So we embraced them, took them in, cookouts in the backyard, trips all over the place, and you can see there's him in the white shirt. We were up in Albany for a caucus weekend with, at that time, public advocate Bill de Blasio and his wife and members of the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program, and you can see him there below with his daughter. So he leaves a little daughter who's 5 years old, cute little gem. He was full of wit, and full of energy, and just smooth. We never see him mad. He just always just, hey, Mr. King, or wherever I am, you know, give that shout. He can be halfway down, like, hey, Mr. King, and I'm like, hey, Corey, you know, he's just one of those good young spirits, you know. So may the Lord continue to rest his soul, and we definitely gonna pull a family, pull together as a family, help Shakira, his mom, and his daughter's mom. We got your back. That's what we do. Is, yeah, we are a family. And it's not easy to be a family, but when it's time to be a family, you got to be a family. And we're just letting you know that we're here for you, Brother Corey, and we're going to help be the village to raise your daughter as well. So may you sleep in peace, may you rest in peace, and at this week's fish fry, enjoy yourself with a game of Cards of Spades. So my dad's up there running the card game as well. So
Amen.
you know, we love you, and we just want to have a moment of silence for you, Brother Corey. May the good Lord continue to watch over you, your spirit, and over your family. Ever since this past the last couple of days, the block has been full with our young souls out here jamming and having a good time and just remembering the light that he provided to all of them. Well, we're going to get back in the last part of King Talk Tuesday. We are sitting here with the great Norman Seabrook, a man of wisdom, a man of spirituality, a man who's been tried, tested through the furnace, and still got his brass feet looking like they were burnt and looking good. He got his wisdom going on with his stroke down here. I appreciate it. Every time I try to grow a beard, I keep cutting myself, so I just stop. So, but we're delightful to have you on us today. So let's talk a little bit about You know, when we jump into, we've been talking about Dr. King, we've been talking about spirituality, we've been talking about civil rights. Now, as a former, no, I'm not going to say that, as a labor leader, you know, when Dr. King was working for labor movement, how does civil rights and the labor movement work together, interact?
Well, I think that when you think about the things that Dr. King fought for equality, um, it brings my attention to the situations that go on with individuals in the city of New York now. You know that there's a huge fight going on with healthcare in the city of New York in regards to the seniors and people who are retired. And I think that that's something that's about to take front and center because it's confusing to a lot of people. It's affecting a lot of people. And I think those are the things that Dr. King fought for. He fought for equality for everyone, not just the few, but for everyone, and especially the blue collar worker, because we, the blue collar workers of this city, this state, this country, for that matter, have always been struggling to get ahead, struggling. But as the economy changes and prices continue to skyrocket, it's kind of difficult for a senior to be able to uh, purchase medication, food, and pay bills. Something's got to give because that's not what Dr. King stood for. He stood for the rights for everyone, and everyone's rights should be heard and their grievance should be heard. You can no longer look for solutions. You have to come up with resolutions because when you have a solution, it just puts a band aid on a situation. But a resolution is something that you never have to revisit again. So we need resolutions in this system that we're in so that we can go move from that one to the next one and not ever have to worry about going over it again because that's called skipping the process. You have to repeat it again. And I believe, this is just my personal opinion, I believe that we need to sit down at the table, a round table, not a square table where you're at the head or I'm at the head or she's at the head or vice versa. It has to be a round table where everyone has an equal part to play and an equal vote to cast to be able to establish guidelines so that we can come up with a resolution that affects the blue collar workers that Dr. King so gave his life for. He didn't give his life just because he felt like it. He didn't want to die. Dr. King said he wants to live a long life. He wants to enjoy longevity. He wants to see his children grow up. He didn't have that. And sometimes we take a holiday as Dr. King's Day and we go shopping and we go hang out, and we go do this and we go do that. And it's unfortunate that we really don't take the time to speak to a young person who's on the verge of self-destruction. We've got to get the children back to be able to build a better system in our country, in our city, in our state that's going to have them go from one level to another and not have to go from the level that they're at to incarceration because that place is just not for them. Rikers Island is not a place for kids. It's not a place for you to go and just sit in a cell or watch reruns on TV of Good Times or whatever show it is that they turn on. There has to be more constructive and more resolutions to the situations that we face. Dr. King stood for that. Dr. King went to jail also. Joseph went to jail in the Bible, okay? But at the end of the day, Dr. King didn't have a pity party when he went there. Joseph didn't have a pity party when he went there. Joseph went from the prison to the palace to become the second most powerful man in the land of Egypt under Pharaoh. Okay, now I'm not suggesting that these children will grow up to become the second most powerful person, but if Barack Obama can become president of the United States of America, so can they. And at the end of the day, in each and every one of our children out there, there is a quality that we're missing because we seem to close our eyes to their cry. They may not know how to come to you and ask you to help them. But as adults, we should know how to go to them and ask them, what help do you need?
That was powerful what you said. And I caught a couple of things in that. when you start talking about solutions versus resolutions, and you're absolutely right. We so often put band-aids on to say, look, we did something, but we never fixed anything. And you're absolutely right when you start talking about it. And when you talk about healthcare, Medicaid, I was talking with my wife, and I said, how about just making it simple? You watch the TV. If you don't have Medicaid C and you got A and B and you don't know what to do, find D around the corner. I'm like, really? Come on, just get rid of all that. Just have one healthcare system for seniors. Why I gotta have Medicaid A, B, C, and D, and I don't know what I don't have, what I do have, and you just make it so confusing. Well, follow
But
the
let me
money.
let me just ask a question. Wasn't it, I think, about 3 years ago or so, that President Barack Obama signed into law Obamacare, giving you the right to choose whatever doctor that you wanted to? So, in the spirit of Dr. King, how you just going to change what he's done?
Right.
I don't get that.
Well, you none of us get it, but that's when we talk about being black in America, the black in America, because that's a dark energy that does that. And it's not about even helping the people. It's the hatred that you had for the black man. I just say who got something done that you had to figure out how to do it regardless. And sadly, some of my Caucasian brothers in Kansas didn't even know when they were fighting against their own health care. I was like, seriously.
And at the end of the day, this healthcare affects everybody.
Yeah,
It's not a black healthcare or white healthcare or Hispanic or Mexican or an Asian or gay and lesbian. It's a healthcare system that's supposed to be provided under the laws that were established. I don't know, when maybe Lindsay was around, or Beam, one of them. I don't have it in front of me, and I'm not going to
right.
pretend to know exactly what it is. But
Yeah,
I
during
do
the
know that
Trump,
we
yeah.
were entitled
Yep.
to health care.
Yep. Yep. And that's when Kaiser Permanente reached out to Nixon and they realized that you couldn't, because they wanted to give health care to everybody. And Kaiser Permanente, which has his site's named after all in the Midwest who brings health care. If you do that, you take the money out. And that's when they figured out how we got to start privatizing and creating systems that people get paid in the healthcare system. That's why millions of dollars get spent. But at the end of the day, millions of Americans are still injured because it's not about the solution. It's not about the resolution. It's about the solution. And people still get paid in the solution.
Yes, yes,
So
yeah.
we're almost wrapping up here. Let's literally, I have about 2 minutes left. I want to give you some final words to share with our viewers, whatever you want to say. And I just want to say thank you for joining me tonight. And I'm looking forward to having you again. But please, whatever words of wisdom you'd like to share with our viewers.
Well, I listen, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to address your viewers. And I want to thank you personally because you're a great man. You're a man that fights vigorously for the rights of those who cannot speak for themselves. And to your credit, you deserve a lot more than the things that you have received or the things that they're trying to just throw your way. And I encourage you, brother, to continue to fight on, because there's no such thing as I can't. You can if you just apply yourself and you just keep fighting, because there's so many people out there that's looking for you to continue to lead and do what it is that you're doing, and continue to fight on. And to Red and to others that said that they're watching, continue to fight on for what you believe in, and fight on. To all the viewers, take the opportunity to speak to a young person that you can look in their eyes and tell that they want to talk to you, but they don't know how to approach you, and you're afraid of them. We can't be afraid of these young children anymore, because that's what they are. But it's how you speak to them that makes all the difference, and it's how you communicate with them. It's the same thing of you communicating with your own children, and stay in faith, my viewers. Stay in faith with God. You have to understand that you could talk to him the same way you talk to your neighbor. He's not impressed with $50 words. He's not impressed with all the donations that you want to make. He's not impressed with that. He's impressed with who you are. You are his child. So if you can't talk to your father, who can you talk to? And I just like to say that, I again thank you, and may you all have a blessed season of Passover, of Christianity, of Islam, or whatever it is that you're celebrating this time of year. Know that it's time for us to come together and do what it is that's necessary to be done, so that we can raise each other up in the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. God bless you.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate those final words, and we'll talk again real soon. But as we always do on King Talk Tuesdays, we end every show with the scripture. Tonight's scripture reads from 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 6 and 7. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. If no one
Amen.
told you today, God loves you, and so do I. Your friend, your brother, and your neighbor, Andy King. Peace.